What up? What up? What up? I appreciate y'all checking me out as always. Listen, today I wanna talk about something special. I put some I put something real special together today. Um, it's been a conversation looming recently about who might be the better player between Kyrie Irving and Chris Paul. These two players who are highly criticized, one for underachieving and the big moments, being able to get you to the moment and not closing. And another one criticized for hell, off the court antics, on the court antics, just different things, but mostly this guy's, meaning Kyrie, um, criticized often for his success coming with LeBron James and having no other success outside of that, right? Sometimes when you look at the numbers don't tell the whole story. You can look at you can look at these two dudes' numbers especially, and they really don't tell you the whole story. We can go right to basketball reference right now, and just looking at some of the numbers, maybe you'll pick one or the other. Um, when we look at the two dudes, Kyrie and Chris Paul, Kyrie averages 23 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists on his career. Chris Paul averaged 18 points, 4 rebounds, 9.5 assists. So advantage Kyrie in scoring, advantage Chris Paul in facilitating. All right. So this is what I mean when I say these numbers alone won't tell the story. I feel like it only leave room for debate and opinion, like a James Harden versus Russell Westbrook type of deal. It's more a matter of preference. Do you want points or do you want assists? All right. Both of these dudes, they do their skill set at a high level. I would say at a high level. I would say that Kyrie is a high level scorer. Well, can be a high level scorer. And I would say that Chris Paul can be a high level facilitator. Let's just take a look at though both of these dudes' body of works. Now keep in mind with me, only 65 games or more matter. I mean, if we having a conversation about a player, oh, he had an MVP season and he only played 47 games that season, he didn't have an MVP season. In my opinion, over here, you need at least 65 games. I understand that this is the era of GOAT rest. 65 games, I need that at a minimum, right? In order to consider that a full season. Now, Kyrie and Chris Paul both have more, we'll call them disqualifying seasons than I would prefer him to have. Kyrie's had 4, Chris Paul's had 7. Now, one of them has had a longer career than the other. Nonetheless, that don't really matter to me, right? Uh, 2000 during the 2013-2014 season, Kyrie played 71 games. All right, that was his first season that he qualified. All right, it was a 2013-2014 season. He played 71 games. He had his average of, well, little under his average. He had 21 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. All right, on a team that anybody would have struggled to have any kind of success with, right? So we don't really want to. I mean, if you just go back and look at the roster, we don't really want to we don't really want to take too much away from him for being a younger player in that kind of position, right? They finished 23 of 30 in the league that year, missing the playoffs for the third year since Kyrie got there. All right. Now, the next season, as we all know, the King came to town. All right. Naturally, we saw a dip in Kyrie's production. over 4 more games than the previous season. He played 71 the season before. He played 75 the next season. He averaged one less point, rebound, and assists. But again, we can't really hold that against him. It's a bit of an adjustment coming from being held a top dog really since college. I mean, we talking about a dude who played 9 games in college and was still the #1 pick, right? So it's a bit of an adjustment being the top dog and then having to defer to, well, the best player, who many would say is the best player ever, right? So I'm not going to take away from him or hold that against him, rather. It's all part of the game. Cleveland finished as a #5 team in the NBA that year. As we all know, they became the Eastern Conference champions, where they lost to the Golden State Warriors. Kyrie dealt with some injuries. Through 13 games, he averaged 19 points, right? But again, he dealt with some injuries, tried to play through a lot of those playoff games. Some games he could play, some games he couldn't. Nonetheless, he averaged 19 points and he scored less than 20 points. Now listen to this. This is important right here, right? This is important because both of these dudes, this is important. Listen to this. He scored 20 points or less 6 times throughout that series. Now, again, he was dealing with injuries, right? But the next year he came back and he showed us who he was as a scorer, fully healthy. He averaged 25 points and he only had 3 games where he averaged 20 points or less, right? Throughout the playoffs. Like, remind you, we're talking about the playoffs 2 years in a row, the 14-15 regular season and then the 15-16 regular season. So you have to look up, if you want to check it out, you have to check out the playoffs for those respective seasons. Cleveland, as we all know, they won the title that year. All right. A few seasons later, Kyrie wanted to trade, landed in Boston, where he was the undisputed leader there. It was not a question. He was with a young Boston Celtics team, and you can imagine that they traded for him with expectations that he would be the guy to help them get over the edge, right? Especially after developing championship DNA with LeBron James, playing with LeBron James over the past couple of seasons. Well, this is the thing that's interesting about these two guys because, again, we're talking about two totally different skill sets. When we're talking about Kyrie, I mean, he had a career high 60 points, right? He got a 160-point game, Kyrie Irving. Chris Paul, never in his life will he have a 60-point game. Kyrie Irving has had 5 50-point games. He's had 29 40-point games. All right. Now, 14 of those were with Brooklyn. But nonetheless, this dude, these are bucket getter numbers right here. This is bucket getting numbers right here. 60-point game, 50-point games, 29 40-point games. All right. Now, this is where things start to get interesting. When we talk about Chris Paul, Paul and his lack of bucket getting abilities, because Chris Paul is not a bucket getter, all right? We're talking about a guy who has scored 40 points 8 times. You understand what I'm saying? He scored 40 points 8 times or more throughout his career. Now he had 68 30-point games, so he had a few of them. But all in all, if we're talking about scoring, it's clearly a wash, right? Clearly a wash. Kyrie Irving, he put up 60-point games, 50-point games, 40-point games. Chris Paul, 40-point games, 30-point games. Now, again, this is where things start to get interesting because now you have to look beyond the numbers. You have to look, well, we're looking at the numbers. but eventually you have to look beyond the numbers. So we'll start here. We'll start with rebounds, right? Kyrie's career high in rebounds is 11. All right. He's averaged double digit rebounds 12 times in his career. All right. In comparisons to Chris Paul's career high in rebounds is 13, one game. He's had 32 times where he's averaged double digit rebounds, right? 32 times in comparisons to Kyrie's 12 times. So obviously Chris Paul there as far as rebounds go. Chris Paul, I guess maybe you can make the argument. I mean, obviously Chris Paul is the better rebounder. Chris Paul is the better rebounder. Kyrie is the better scorer. Chris Paul is the better assist man. And that's not even in question. Kyrie's career high in assists is 18. He's averaged double digit assists 59 times in his career. That's a surprising number. I think Kyrie is an underrated passer. All right. So 59 times in his career, he's averaged double digit assists, right? CP 21 is his career high one game. Dig this, man. Listen to this right here. 568 times Chris Paul has had double digit assist games. All right. And that really probably is to nobody's surprise that he would be beating Kyrie out in that category. 568 times. That is a lot of times to average double digit assists. All right. That's to have that many games. I just wasn't expecting that number. 568 times this man has had double digit assists. All right. Now, when it comes to defense, had to do this one a little bit different because obviously not a lot of players are getting 10 rebounds, double digit steals, I mean, right? So when it comes to steals, the most Kyrie has had in the game is 8. Now, that number definitely shocked me. He's had a career high 8 games. I mean, 8 steals for one game. I don't know what team, but he's had double digit steals 9 times in his career. Oh, well, I'm sorry, not double digit. He's had 5 or more steals 9 times in his career. Again, that's a number that surprised me, right? Now, when we look at Chris Paul career high in steals is 9. This dude has had 5 or more steals 88 times. 88 times has he had 5 or more steals in comparisons to Kyrie's 9, right? When we talk about blocks, Kyrie's had a career high of 4. I did this one a little bit different too. He's had 2 or more 48 times. That's again, wasn't expecting that number. And when it comes to Chris Paul, his career high is 3 blocks, and he's had two or more blocks 24 times. I don't know. I guess all in all, I would have to say that edge goes to Chris Paul, right? So far we have scoring Kyrie, we have rebounding, not broke down in any particular category. We have rebounding, total rebounding. The edge is going to go to Chris Paul. Assists, the edge is going to go to Chris Paul. Defense, I guess it's up to you, but a guy who had 88 games with 5 or more steals, 24 games with 2 or more blocks. Yeah, I'll take that over 9 times 5 or more steals and 48 2 or more blocks. I'll take those two. I'll take Chris Paul's statistics on that matter any day of the week, right? And again, that's not a slight at Kyrie because these numbers surprise me. 48 times Kyrie has had 2 or more blocks in the game. I'm a little surprised at that. I got to be honest with you because when you think Kyrie, defense is not something that just pop out at you, jump out at you. But at the same time, I have seen Kyrie Irving really lock down and when it comes to a certain height, it's only so much you can do on both sides of the ball, honestly, right? So I don't expect Kyrie to be able to go out there and be a lockdown defender. But I will say, judging by these numbers, he's a pretty decent defender. He's just not as good of a defender as Chris Paul. All right. So again, edge Chris Paul there. Triple doubles. Triple doubles. This is rough. Kyrie Irving has had one triple double with each team that he's been with, meaning the Nets, meaning the Celtics, and the Cavaliers. Mind you, he had zero triple doubles before LeBron got there. All right. I don't know what that might mean, but I did note that. All right. 3 triple doubles in his career. Kyrie has had 3 measly, funky triple doubles in his career. All right. Now, in comparisons, Chris Paul has 18. Now that's pretty that's pretty trash too. But again, we are talking about two guys that we really don't expect to jump off the charts as far as rebounding goes. So, you almost can toss that out. You almost can toss that out. The triple doubles, if you want, you can almost toss that one out because again, this is, we in the era now where you got Russ, you got Jokic, you got Bron, who guys have triple doubles. It's a triple double type of league. So, think only the best really get those. I mean, for the most part, the best, at least on a consistent basis, at least. So again, triple doubles, you really can watch that. Chris Paul had 18, Kyrie had 3. All right. Now, we start to get off into accolades and awards. Things really start getting tricky. I think even up to this point, it's pretty much a matter of preference. Who you want, who you prefer, what do you prefer on your team, right? Um, when we start talking about awards and accolades, it start to get pretty one-sided, right? Now, Chris Paul has led the league, right? He's led the league in things. He led the league in assists. He's led the league in steals. How many times? Let's see. What we got? Let's see. We got, man, I mean, we got too many. We got too many. Chris Paul has been the league leader in the playoffs alone in assists 5 times, 5 to 6 times between steals and assists. All right. He's led the league in the playoffs. Now, he led the league in steals and assists one year, 2 years. He led the league in steals another year. He led the league in assists another year. I mean, this is an assist machine. All this dude do is pass the ball. Chris Paul don't get you no buckets, but I tell you what, he will help you get them if you want some. I'm just looking at this dude's games. He got on his career, he averaged 18 points. Listen at this. This year, 2022, 2023, he only averaged 14 points. His rookie season, he averaged 16 points. He's got a DQ here. I think the most he got in the season is 21. The lowest he's got is 15. And that's for a actual qualifying season. Because again, we talking about 7 do not qualifies. This dude he just hurt all the time, right? But even if he didn't lead the league in assists, he was double digit in assists. He had, let's see, here he got 2 seasons where he wasn't double digit in assists. 3 seasons. His rookie season, he only averaged 7 assists. All right. Rebounds, pretty mediocre. Let's talk about the awards. All right. Both players are rookie of the years. Both players are the rookie of the years. Now, an interesting note with Kyrie Irving, he won rookie of the year in a non-qualifying season. He only played 51 his rookie year. Now, the only other players to play, this is just a little stupid ass note. Only other players to only play 51 games or less and still win rookie of the year was Vince Carter and Patrick Ewing. I say that's pretty decent company. Two non-winners, but pretty decent company. Kyrie Irving is an 8-time All-Star. Um, he's got an All-Star MVP. Now, we all know he got that elusive championship ring. He's got a four times in his career. He was a player of the week. 3 times he was player of the month. He was 3 times was he an all NBA player, right? Now, he has never been on any all NBA first teams. He has never led the league in anything ever. He has also never had something new that I'm about to introduce to y'all. He's never had any MVP shares. What is an MVP share? Well, it's pretty simple. When it comes to MVP votes in the regular season, you got a panel of people who vote on what players they feel like should be the MVP. Now, that don't necessarily mean you win MVP. It mean you could have came in 10th place and got 0 votes. You could have came in 2nd place and got 3 votes. All right. So that's what an MVP share is. An MVP share is when one of the vote getters, one of the guys, at least one of the guys who decide who the MVPs are, they vote for you. Kyrie Irving has had 0 of those. 0. Why is that important? Well, let's just compare some things. At the top of the MVP share list of all time, who y'all think is up there? Bron. LeBron James is the all-time MVP shareholder. Getter. MVP share getter. Let's call it that, right? Number 2 on that list is Mike. Number 3 on that list is Kareem. All right. Just to throw a couple of more names out there, you got Shaq, you got Tim Duncan, you got Karl Malone. This is like this. These guys make out the top 10 of the list, right? They're in the top 10 with the guys that you can imagine, the Kareems, the Birds, the Magics, all right? Actively, of course, Bron is at the top of the list. Harden is second, KD, Yanni, Curry, Jokic, all right? These are the guys who get MVP shares. To me, this is pretty important, I would say. I would say it can help decide the story, right? Numbers don't tell the whole story. You kind of need a bigger picture, right? And I think this is a pretty big picture here because Kyrie Irving again has never received any MVP shares. Now, Chris Paul has had 11 seasons when he had at least 1 MVP share. Again, Kyrie Irving has had none. Now, this might not seem like a big deal to you. It might seem like maybe I'm grabbing something out of the air. Maybe I'm just grabbing something out of the air to, I don't know, create an argument, I guess. Maybe I'm reaching. I'm not reaching. Bron is at the top of this list. Mike is number 2 on this list. These are the 2 greatest players of all time. Kareem is number 3, if you want to go that route. These are the 3 greatest players of all time. Currently, outside of LeBron, Harden, KD, Yanni, and Curry have the most MVP shares, right? Let me throw out some names for you of guys who have MVP shares that Kyrie don't have. This is what's so alerting to me. Of all time, Connie Hawkins got more MVP shares than Kyrie Irving. Maybe that's a little too far back. Maybe you don't really know who Connie Hawkins is, because I got to be honest with you, I really don't. Rick Barry is on that list, and I know who he is. But guess what? I don't even care about Rick Barry. Let's use somebody else. How about Artis Gilmore? How about Carlos Boozer, John Wall, Alonzo Mourning? These are Grant Hill. These are all guys who are on an all-time. They made the all-time MVP shares list. Meaning that they have at least they have received more MVP shares than many other players. I think the list went up to about 60. It's about 60 other players, right? Because some players never get MVP shares, like a guy like Kyrie, who has never had one so far. How about other guys? How about guys who are in the league with Kyrie Irving right now, who have had MVP shares before Kyrie Irving? You got Mike Conley, Victor Oladipo, hey, Draymond Green. Listen at this one. Ben Simmons, Julius Randle. And I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't even going to do this. Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry has more MVP shares than Kyrie Irving. Now, again, you might say, oh, no, that's some bullshit. That don't matter. That you trying to tell me Kyle Lowry and Goran Dragic is better than Kyrie? Nope, 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 nope. This ain't even about those guys. This is about Kyrie versus Chris Paul. When you look at the entire body of work of both of these players, and when it comes down to defense, when it comes down to productivity in general, anything outside of scoring, the edge is Chris Paul's. I hope this is making sense to. I know this might sound like plebiscite babble to a lot of people, right? But when you listen back to this, there's no way you can say Kyrie Irving is better than Chris Paul. Now, if you want to say that you prefer Kyrie's game or Kyrie as a person, I get it. Listen, I get it. Look, man, if somebody on my team, and just be honest, if you on my team, we all hooping, you gonna let this dude come spit on you? No, 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 no. So look, I could get why some might pick Kyrie over Chris Paul. All right. I could see why some might pick Chris Paul over Kyrie. Maybe you a tiny hat. Maybe you a tiny hat. I don't know. Maybe you're just somebody who just don't like Kyrie, right? All in all, Chris Paul is hands down the better player. He's not the better scorer, but he is hands down the better player. He's led his team to more success. Now, when we talk about Kyrie Irving, truthfully, I have only been able to see Kyrie Irving. I got one qualifying season for Kyrie Irving, like outside of playing with Bron. I got one qualifying season for him where he was the leader, the undisputed leader, right? And look, man, I didn't even go over those numbers. I didn't even go over those numbers because it was the time when he was in Boston, and we all know that Boston eventually ended up deciding to go into another direction. But if you want to know, just if you want to know, he played 67 games in this particular qualifying season. He averaged 24 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. He played 9 playoff games, all right? And his playoff numbers dipped. He had 21 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. Now he was the leader in that in that playoffs for the Celtics that year. Now, what do I mean by the leader? I mean that he had more minutes, field goal attempts, points, and assists. He took at least 7 more shots than the next person. He took at least 7 more shots. All right. I would say that is your leader. You've been allowed to take more shots throughout a playoff series than anybody else. Throughout the playoffs, not just the playoff series. Throughout the playoffs, you've been allowed 7 more shots. You've been allowed more minutes, right? More points, more assists. I would say that that is your team and you are the leader of it, right? Now, we know that Chris Paul has had moments, too many for me to go down the list and name, where he didn't show up where they needed him to show up. Well, here's the difference. Chris Paul is a sidekick posing as a number one player, I guess. I mean, I guess. I don't even know if I would say that much. I think I would say that throughout his career, outside of James Harden, he ain't really had nobody that you can just say, yeah, this is the number one guy. Now we all know that when you playing with James Harden, this is his way or the highway. It's his way or the highway, right? So I can imagine, even though they had levels of success, and I think that before Chris Paul got injured in the playoffs, like he always do, I would make the argument that they probably would have, if nothing else, went to the finals. All right. I would say that they would have went to the finals. Now, outside of James Harden, he's had guys like Blake Griffin. He's had guys like Devin Booker, who we all know, even though he's had more MVP shares than Kyrie Irving, we all know Devin Booker is just not that guy like that, which is why they had to bring over Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving is a point guard who should be playing shooting guard, but I don't think that he's good enough of a shooting guard to play shooting guard. I think his off ball movement prevents him from being the shooting guard that maybe he should be. And even though Kyrie Irving has had 60-point games, 50-point games, and 40-point games, much more than Chris Paul, I would still argue that him as a scorer, he's not consistent enough of a scorer to be the leader of a team. Because again, this is his best skill set. His skill set as a scorer is not like a guy like Paul George. I don't even say his scoring is on the level of Donovan Mitchell. I don't even think his scoring is on the level of somebody like Donovan Mitchell. We know it's not on the level of a guy, Steph Curry. I mean, we know. So again, we got a point guard posing as a shooting guard. And we got a sidekick posing as a leader. My question to you, based on both of these guys' bodies of work, which one do you prefer? Please let me know down in the comments below. Send me an email, shoot me a text message. Don't be shy, man. Give me a thumbs up on the video. You know, YouTube be blocking the algorithm. I forgot to put my banner on there. Hold on. There. What up? You know what I'm saying? You know, I for sure appreciate y'all checking me out as always. Please like and subscribe. Go on and share while you at it. They blocking the algorithm. You know how YouTube be hating, man. Hey, I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.